This video is going to help you if you have a tendency to be giving your all, doing the best that you can, like taking action steps, and no matter what you do, it's just not good enough. Like for some reason, like regardless of the effort that you expend, the results aren't coming back to you yet. Because I'm going to be talking about this concept of when your best just isn't good enough for the reality that we live in. Because I relate very much to this, and I've had this as an issue for many, many years. And I'm going to be talking about kind of where this comes from, some of the working pieces of it, and things that we can begin to do to create our own definition of success. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Adam. I help people transform their fear, their trauma, and their confusion into love, freedom, and clarity. So for me, I spent many, many, many years feeling like I was taking all the right steps, putting in all the right action work, doing all the inner work, traversing my fears, conquering my fears, confronting what needed to be confronted, expending every ounce of energy and effort that I could for basically jack shit. Because sometimes that's how it is. Your best just doesn't qualify you. You don't get the partner, you don't get the money, you don't get the job promotion because you can't keep up with the level of the collective. And yet you're doing what you feel is way more than what some other people are doing who are getting that reflected back to them. And sometimes that's bullshit. You don't know what they're doing. And sometimes that's completely true, but you're just on different paths. And there's different things going on underneath the surface. It can be very frustrating because we tend to blame ourselves. We tend to look at like, oh, well, that person got the money, that person got the partner, that person has the house. What's wrong with me? Where am I fucking up? Why and how am I a piece of shit? We internalize it and beat ourselves up. There was a quote by Kobe Bryant that I heard a while ago, and it was something to the extent of, everybody has their own puzzle, right? Everyone has their own puzzle to solve, and it's not the same as anyone else's puzzle. The only thing that you need to know is how to solve your puzzle. Another way to say this is we are all in a classroom by ourselves. And as far as the puzzle analogy goes, it's tricky because some people will have similar puzzles to you, or some people will have like maybe 10 pieces of a puzzle that are just like your 10 pieces, and they've put those 10 pieces together so they can look at you and be like, oh, here are some hints, here are some clues, and they can help you or teach you how to put those 10 pieces together. Other people might have a puzzle that's very generally similar to yours, and they can help you a lot. Whereas other people's puzzles will be nothing at all like yours, and there's nothing they can do for you. And they may not even know that. And they'll just be looking at you going, well, why can't you just get up at this time and run every day? And why can't you just take the action steps? And you're lazy and you're slacking off, and they don't have a fucking clue what you came here to do, what you're doing, or what your puzzle is. And they're going to be like kryptonite to you. One of the first things I want to talk about today is capacity. We all have different capacities on every level. Your body has a different capacity. Your emotions, your mental body, your soul, your spirit, all of us have different capacities. And we can only function relative to our own capacity. And if reality was fair, it would reward you when you were going a little bit above and beyond and pushing yourself in a healthy way for your capacity. But generally, a lot of times, at least as of now, you have to be at the collective capacity for whatever the task or medium is that you're looking to succeed in order to qualify, which can be very frustrating. Like, look at it like a light bulb, right? Like, some light bulbs are 500 watt light bulbs. Some light bulbs are 300 watt light bulbs. Some are 2 watts. Now, let's say the collective capacity for success in business, as an entrepreneur or, as a lawyer or something is 50 watts, expenditure of energy. And you got a 2 watt light bulb. You could be expending 2 watts all the time, which is 100%. That light bulb is given everything it has in every moment, but it's nowhere near 50 watts, so nobody cares. They're just like, fuck you, you suck. You're not qualifying for this. Whereas someone else who has a 500 watt light bulb and be slacking the fuck off, expending 50 watts of energy like it's nothing. And they succeed. And that can seem very, very unfair. And sometimes it may actually be kind of unfair, but it is the way that it is. Give an example, like I wanted to do stand-up. I've talked about this before. And many years ago, I started going. Okay? Now, I could only go and perform like once a week because I had so much trauma, so much karma, so much fatigue. Like, people didn't know what I was doing. People didn't know that I was healing the entire Jewish ancestral line, and I had Holocaust terror coming up in my body, and past life trauma, and past life karma, and brain damage from drug addiction, and like monuments of shit that people can't see, and weights that would have broken most human beings. And that seems fucked up to say, but it's true. Nobody could see that. Nobody can see the weights you're carrying in other dimensions. For me, once a week was a fucking miracle. But as far as making it in stand-up is concerned, that's nothing. You go once a week to an open mic, people are like, you're not in, bro. You're not committed. People are going 7 times a week, sometimes 2-3 times a day for years. That's what it takes in the collective generally to make it in that medium. And they, would just look at me like, well, it's not good enough. Okay, we all have different capacities and we're all doing different things. When I would work so hard at so many different, in so many different avenues and nothing would land for me, I got very obsessed with like, well, why? Like, why that person and not me? Why did that person's life take off and not me? And it can be dangerous to compare and contrast from a victim standpoint, but I wanted some answers. Because things just didn't make sense. And I got very into studying the evolution of the soul and how we set up lives on this planet. Like, how does the soul learn? What does it do? What do you do when you're scripting out a life? Like, not better or worse, but why did that person have an easier time than me? And the answer is there's so many reasons. It's hard to even quantify. We have different lesson plans, different intentions, different advancement levels as souls, which doesn't make someone better than someone else. But some of us are very, very old souls with the intention to heal like basically everything. And there are other younger souls who are here who just don't have as much to go through, or they don't want as many challenges. And so they sign up for something that's not as hard and their lives take off. Sometimes that's why people go ahead. Other times it's because in other lifetimes they did a shit ton of homework, and this lifetime is a lifetime where it all comes together. It varies very much as far as to how and why and what's happening. Sometimes lives don't go according to plan. Some people script out lives where there's like some struggles because that's how the soul learns. If everything was perfect, we would learn nothing. There's going to be a challenge here and a difficulty here. And then I'm going to get, messages to do this and my whole life's going to take off, and that's what happens. For me in particular, my plan got derailed. My group got attacked. Most of the group I came in with are dead, right? But there's nothing I can do about that except heal the trauma from that and accept it and move on. And the lessons are all still perfect. I was still able to learn everything that I needed to learn, and I'm lucky. And it's very tricky and intricate. We never know what we're looking at. And the other thing is this. We all carry different frequencies and different lessons, right? So like somebody, it may just be their life path to make a shit ton of money. And that's why you see these people sometimes on social media going, this is how you make $400,000 in your first month with AI. That's not going to work for a lot of people because your soul might want to learn discipline and structure and how to earn things. That's just what you're working on. So you're not going to make $400,000 in your first month. I mean, the first question to ask is that true? Because sometimes those people are bullshitting. Sometimes it is true. Sometimes they worked really hard to get there and they're not really telling you that. Other times, they didn't work that hard to get there because they're just here to carry the frequency of how to make a lot of money. And you might need that a little. You might need it a lot. You might need it not at all. It depends. I'll give you an example of something that I'm going through. There's this guy, he's a motivation mindset teacher named David Goggins. And I don't know David Goggins. I've just seen him, speak on, podcasts and YouTube and social media. Okay. Now, David Goggins has been through he's like the only human being to pass like Army Ranger training, Navy SEAL training, and some other training. He's been tested extensively, and he can do things with his mindset, his body, his motivation that most humans can't do yet. He's truly a phenomenon, and he's unbelievably good. His message is just like succeed at all costs, like mindset, thrive, conquer. Okay, now for me, as a soul, that is the total wrong frequency for me. And it's not because there's anything bad about him. It's because I have had such an extensive history of pushing and fighting and being a warrior and conquering that I completely burnt myself out. My lesson is a divine feminine lesson. What I need is not more mindset. I mean, a little bit, yeah, but it's not more like force, fight, push. What I need is love. What I need is gentleness. What I need is joy. And men tend to do that. Like they get stuck in like the conquering and the battling and the accomplishment and the achievement. And some people need that. Some people don't have structure and they don't have discipline. And so they need some of that to push them forward. But my lesson is more about motivation comes from love. And that's a pretty good male lesson, and that is kind of historically relevant too, like when you bring like someone that a man deeply loves, like a woman or kids or a family, and love is the motivating factor, they can do way, way, way more than mindset or motivation or warrior skills is ever going to take them. But because of my history and because I burnt out so bad in this life, I have a tendency to look at that and be like, I've developed judgments around myself for being lazy and being unmotivated and being undisciplined. And so I'll look at someone like David Goggins and I'll be like, that's what I need because I'm lazy and I need structure and I kind of do a little, but it's the wrong lesson. So if you're looking at certain people, question yourself, is that really the right lesson? And maybe it is, but sometimes we go for the exact opposite of what we need because the root of the lesson is different than what we think. And like for me, that old part of me that's just warrior, warrior, warrior thinks that the warrior is the solution. And I have to kind of remind myself it's the opposite. And that doesn't mean I won't ever, benefit from watching David Goggins or anything like that. But it is a good example of how it's tricky to really know what frequency or person we need. And I think one of the main reasons I'm talking about this is to understand we're all in a classroom by ourselves and to give some clarity to this sort of overall phenomenon scenario. But also, the most important thing I found in healing is acknowledgement. We don't want to fall into a victim complex. Oh, poor me. Oh, just look at my pain all the time. We want to give ourselves the acknowledgement that we're looking for from the reality. That's really how people heal. So what can we do? What can we do when our best just isn't hacking it? Well, you start by creating your own barometer of success. Like when I was doing stand-up and it wasn't enough, I wasn't going enough, I had too much fear, social anxiety, trauma to get good enough at it, I got to learn how to make what I was doing enough, how to stop and just love myself in spite of the fact that nobody else was really, I wasn't qualifying for the collective upgrade or the success that I wanted. And as I stepped back again and again and again and acknowledged myself again and again and again, in spite of not getting it, I started to get better and I started to get stronger. And funnily enough, my capacity started to increase, because we can increase our capacities. Number 2, it's basically useless to compare yourself to anybody else for the reasons I've mentioned. It doesn't really do anything. So I recommend having compassion for yourself and having compassion for them. Everybody's fighting a battle we know nothing about. Some people do have it easier than you do. Some people have it harder. That will always be true for everybody. We live in a world now that likes to sit around and just play this game of victim cards. Blame everybody, blame people's race, color, creed, sex. No personal responsibility, just how am I a victim? It's going nowhere. We all have to deal with our own situations and circumstances. We all have our own puzzle to solve. And that leads me to the last one, number 3. Trust that if you're taking responsibility for yourself and your life and your lesson, the universe will acknowledge you and lead you toward your success. You do not need to be operating at the capacity of everybody else in order to be collectively successful. If you consistently acknowledge and love you and understand your lessons and what it is that you're learning and what it is that your path is and your purpose, you will build yourself enough based on your own capacity to experience the success and honor that you want. But it starts inside. Anyway, I hope that helped. Please comment below. Let me know what you think of this. Please like and subscribe to my channel. It does help me a lot. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time.